It's the Sports Nightly Preseason Top 25 tonight.
First to goal from the 2. Purdy pumps, looks, wide open man, Kohler, touchdown Iowa State. Charlie Kohler with another touchdown reception, his 7th in the last 7 games. How about that?
Number 23, the Iowa State Cyclones.
And here's fill in all the blanks for us on Iowa State's Randy Peterson from the Des Moines Register. Randy, I hope you're doing well. Hope you're staying healthy and safe during all these crazy times.
I'm doing as well as can be expected. How about yourself?
Hanging in there. Just kind of curious when we're going to get some answers on this hopefully upcoming college football season. Let me start there, Randy. What kind of did they eye roll in Ames when the Big Ten came out and said no non-conference game, thus stopping the Cy-Hawk game for a year? What was the reaction in Ames to the Big Ten's decision?
The eyes not only rolled in Ames, they rolled in Dallas. I talked to Bowlesby, the Big 12 commissioner. I mean, sometime within 3 hours or so of the Big Ten's decision, and Bowlesby and I talked quite a bit because he's also an Iowan, and so we knew each other long before he was who he is now. But and the Big Ten's decision took everybody by surprise because they had a meeting among the Power 5 commissioners on a Zoom meeting that the day that it happened. I believe it was on a Friday, maybe a Thursday. And Bowlesby came away from that meeting that there'd be no bombshells. Nobody would announce anything crazy or anything like that. And then a few hours later, here comes the Big Ten decision. So I called Bowlesby right away, and I said, what the heck, or something like that. And he was blindsided. So yeah, that surprised everybody. But yeah, no Cy-Hawk game. That's wow. That's I don't know whether people have quite grasped it yet here in our state, because our fans are trying to figure out a way to play it, and I keep telling them it ain't happening. So I guess for a season, I hope it's just a season, that everybody can put their week-long hostility against each other, pack it away, and put that hostility into something more beneficial, like trying to figure out how to get rid of the COVID. But it hit everybody pretty hard. I mean, it's going to hit. The game's supposed to be in Iowa City this year, and it's going to hit that community really hard because the hotels probably were getting sold out, and that's at least a 2-night minimum. Bars were going to be packed. As you know, there's more people in the parking lots tailgating before that game than what's actually in the stadium. So I mean, it's just a rite of the fall for Iowa State to play football against each other, and it's not happening. So there's certainly a void. I'll tell you that. I feel bad for the senior.
Yeah, Randy, to your knowledge, is Iowa State trying to replace that game? Have they made any inquiries to other schools to try to replace that game, or are they sitting back to wait and see what happens here?
Well, here's the deal with that. I think they're sitting back and waiting. I think they probably made preliminary call to Northern Iowa, because Northern Iowa lost that game too. That's who Iowa was supposed to open the season with, is against Northern Iowa. I think Iowa State and Northern Iowa, being that the Northern Iowa athletic director, David Harris, used to be at Iowa State, was Jamie Pollard's was a senior associate athletic director at Iowa State. I think that they've probably talked. But I don't know if I doubt it that it's extended beyond that, because how do we know that we don't even know the Big 12's going to allow its teams to play non-conference games, or at least non-conference games outside of the Power 5 structure. So I don't know. I understand we're supposed to find out something on Friday when the NCAA Board of Governors meet, but I don't think what we're going to find out Friday is going to pertain to Power 5 schools like Iowa State, Nebraska, the Big 10 and the Big 12 and the Power 5 conferences. I think because those conferences are essentially leaderless anyway, because the NCAA doesn't govern them. So I'm guessing that the Big 12, the SEC, and the ACC get go another week and a half, 2 weeks before deciding on what they're going to do. But bottom line is, I'm guessing they go, if they choose to play football, I'm guessing they go conference games only as well.
Randy Peterson's with us from the Des Moines Register. We've got Iowa State at number 23 in our preseason top 25. Let's dive into the Cyclones. It starts with Brock Purdy. How impressive a quarterback is this guy in person, Randy?
He's really impressive, and he looks more impressive now than he did last year, just as physically. I've just seen him. I've not seen him. Well, I did see him in person. I live in Des Moines, and I was in Ames, I don't know, about a week ago. I just needed to get my Iowa State campus fixed, so I just drove up and drove around, and I saw him walking in one of the parking lots, and we waved at each other from afar, but he's bulked up. He looks very good from a physical standpoint. If this kid can stay healthy, I'll tell you what, he's going to end up. He'll be a junior. He's going to end up as Iowa State's all-time quarterback leader in every statistical category. He's that good.
There have been some good ones down through the years at Iowa State. How about the offensive line? As I look at it, just one starter back. Is that one of the questions that this team's going to have to answer?
It's one of two questions that this team's got to answer. I'm putting it at number two. Number one, I think that there needs to be they need to find a backup quarterback, because whoever the backup quarterback's going to be has not taken a college snap. So that's huge. But Iowa State rotated a number of offensive linemen in and out last year. But yeah, they lost three starters. Or actually four starters, yeah, but they've got two guys back who started a lot of the season, Trevor Downing and Colin Newell. Colin Newell was actually the starting center, and then he got hurt after maybe the third game of the year. He got hurt and missed 5 or 6 games in a row. So he came back for the bowl game against Notre Dame, and he was just barely back. I mean, so they essentially have two starting linemen back. And Trevor Downing, who will be a junior from Creston, from down in Southwest Iowa. This kid's good, and he may have been Iowa State's best offensive lineman last year anyway. So they played a lot of linemen. They're going to have to plug in 3 guys, and that's going to be tough because Iowa State's never had a great offensive line. They've been adequate. They've been enough to get the job done, to have 1,000-yard rushers, for example, and to have, to block well enough for Brock Purdy. But they'll be all right. It's never a strength of the team, but they've got guys who started. They've got 4 or 5 guys, not who started, but who played a lot. So it's not going to be a deep position, yet it's going to be adequate, passable. I guess that's a word for it.
Yeah, I'm busy with Randy Peterson, the Des Moines Register. We've got Iowa State number 23 in our preseason top 25. Let's go to defense. A lot of familiar names on that side of the ball. How good can that group be in your eyes?
Could be the best defense Iowa State's had in a long time, and I know people are going to say, well, that's not saying much, but it really is, because Iowa State's defense under Matt Campbell, since Matt Campbell's been the head coach with John Haycock running the defense, he's revamped that whole defense. They've gone to the 3-man front. They were one of the first teams in college football to go to a 3-man front, and they've done it successfully. So schools are now catching up with that. This is a defense that's got very experienced defensive linemen coming back, including defensive end Jaquan Bailey, who entered last season needing just 1 sack to be Iowa State's career sack leader. Well, he got hurt in the 4th game of the year against Baylor and didn't play the rest of the season. He's back. He could have gone. He was a senior last year, but he hadn't redshirted, so he didn't get his 4 games in. So he's back. He could have gone on to try to get into an NFL camp or to rehab and got into an NFL camp, but he decided to come back. So the defensive line is going to be really good. The linebackers have been very good as of late. Not as of late. Iowa State's had good linebackers for the last 7 or 8 years probably, and Mike Rose is the leader there. He's a preseason all-conference guy. The defensive backfield, safety Greg Eisworth, he was a preseason all Big 12 guy. So he's back in the back end with starters coming back around him. So this could be the best defense Iowa State's had, and it's a defense with depth too. So So, that's going to be the key word this season, if and when we get college football going. That's going to be a key word this season, is depth, because what if a guy comes down with a crud? What if you test for COVID on Wednesday? You're out. You could be out 1 or 2 games, and that could be anybody from your starting quarterback to your 1,000-yard rusher. So it's going to be key that depth, as you know, is going to be the big deal. And on defense, Iowa State's got tremendous depth.
Randy, last year I think we had Iowa State somewhere in the teens in our preseason top 25, and they didn't quite live up to that. So I think that spooked us a little bit. That's why we have them at 23. But listening to you and kind of breaking this down, to me, this looks like a team that could play for a Big 12 title. Am I way off on that, or is this team capable of being one of the last 2 standing?
Well, the Big 12, the Big 12 media picked Iowa State for 4th, which I thought was probably one rung low. I picked them for 3rd. I picked them for Oklahoma, obviously, number 1, and I had Texas number 2, and then Iowa State 3. Well, apparently the majority of the reporters who voted had Oklahoma 1, Oklahoma State number 2 behind Chuba Hubbard, the running back who gained a gazillion yards last year. Texas number 3 and Iowa State 4. So I guess the other than Oklahoma, numbers 2, 3, and 4 are fairly interchangeable, I would say. So yeah, Iowa State's got a shot to play in the championship game, I would say. One thing that works against Iowa State is that they play at Texas late in the season, and Iowa State doesn't seem to ever win down there. So that could work against Iowa State, but yeah, with a little luck on the health front, I think Iowa State could be among the 2 standing at the end. Certainly they go right into the last maybe 2 weeks of the season with that possibility.
And hopefully we can put a lot of people in the stands for that game in Dallas. They would travel like crazy down there if they were able to get that opportunity. Randy, great to catch up. Good to hear that you're healthy. Let's all keep our fingers crossed. We've got some college football being played here in about 6-7 weeks.
All right. Tell everybody hi over there for me. Thanks for having me anytime.